Welcome back. Time now for one of our favorite segments here on the Morning News. Dog Talk, friend of the show, Tristan Flynn from Jolly Tales, back with a beautiful pup. And today we're talking tips on how to get your dog to not pull on the leash and walk comfortably. And who is this beauty?
This is Indy. She's one of our great clients. Her owner is Colleen Berry. Allowed me to bring her here so she can help us talk about loose leash walking.
How old is she?
I think she's about 10 months. And she is a female Rhodesian Ridgeback.
She's so cute.
Yep, and she's one of our regulars at Jolly Tales.
So does she know how to walk comfortably on a loose leash?
They're working on it,
okay.
So this is why she has this tool. So one of the things I want to talk about today is how do we actually teach our dogs to walk on a loose leash? And dogs learn through reinforcement. So dogs are going to learn that if you allow them to move forward when they're on a tight leash, then they are going to continue to do that. So it's very important that you don't move forward when your dog is pulling you on a loose leash. You have a couple of options. The first thing you could do is you could stop and you could ask the dog to come back to you. So if Indy's ahead of me, I can just encourage her, come on, Indy, come on. And then as soon as she comes back to me, I can start moving forward again.
Do you reinforce her with a treat when she comes
back? No, I wouldn't,
back?
Because the reinforcement is going to be moving forward. Now, if she's moving forward with me nicely, I can reward her. So if she follows me like this, I can reward her with some treats while I walk around. And every time she's right beside me, I can give her a treat.
So she knows that that's where she's supposed
That's
to be.
right. Okay. The other option is if she does pull forward, I can turn around. So if I'm walking and she pulls ahead of me, I can just say, and we can move this way. So and then we can try again to walk on a loose leash the way we were going.
So is that kind of just to make her know that you are the leader in this situation?
No, it's really not important. It's more about making sure she gets the message that she doesn't get to move forward when she's on a tight leash. That's all it is. And that's a great question because we're not worried about her seeing me as a leader or an alpha dog. That's not important. What's important is that she not be reinforced for pulling. Now, a couple things I wanted to bring today is some tools for walking because one of the problems is if you have a dog that is powerful and strong and you cannot stop or you cannot turn around because the dog is just so powerful, you need a tool to help you, and a regular collar usually isn't enough. The tool that Indy's wearing is what's called a freedom harness. This is my actual favorite tool to use for dogs that pull. It's a really, really nice harness. We've got another one over here, and it's got a really nice felt liner to go up around the dog. And so it won't chafe like a lot of your traditional no-pull harnesses will. And it also has two connection points, one in the front and one in the back. So this kind of gives you like some power steering for the dog. So if you look at the leash I'm using with Indy, it actually has two different connection points and it's feeding into this one handle here.
I've never seen this before.
It's a really great tool. So this allows me to move Indy around because she's very, very strong. So it allows me to train her and work with her. Now, if you don't really train her that well, this is still going to be a really great solution for your walk. So a lot of people could just simply walk Indy just using this tool, even if they weren't training, and it's not harmful to her. So it's not an uncomfortable tool. So you see, she's not going to fight because she doesn't like it or be upset by it. So I've got a couple of other tools I wanted to show people as well. Now, a lot of people are going to be familiar with this kind of tool.
The muzzle?
This is a head collar. So this is actually the black dog one. This is a really nice one, but it goes over their snout and their head. So a lot of dogs may not like these. So you can find that sometimes dogs will fight with them. They'll rub their nose on you. They'll rub it on the ground. But this will kind of give you maximum control. But the problem is that some dogs don't like them. So if you are going to use a tool like this, it's really important to actually condition it. So what I would do the first time I put this on a dog is I want her to have a good experience. So I'm not just going to put this on Indy's face, strap it on, and start going for a walk because she's not going to like it. So one of the techniques you can use is I can show Indy the tool, and I can actually put a treat through it and make her actually put her own nose through it like this. So this is actually becoming her idea now. So she's getting treats for putting her nose through the hoop. And eventually I'll clip it on there. And you see when I try to even put it on her, she kind of shies away. So if I were to just put this on her, she's not going to like it. And she's never worn one of these before. But if I put the treat through it and make it her idea, she has a good experience with it. And then I want to try to increase the duration that it's on. So this is a really great way to condition your dog to a head collar. She keeps it on and she gets more reward. So spending 5 to 10 minutes doing that would allow you to wear something like this.
Before you even head outdoors. And that's another question. When you're trying to train your dog, do you start around the yard or do you just straight up go for the walk?
Yeah, I would start in a lower distraction environment. So that's a great question. But even if you are on a walk, as long as you hold to the rule of not moving forward when your dog pulls, then you will be on the right track. Now, I wanted to show another tool that I don't recommend people use, and this is what's called a prong collar or a pinch collar. And this kind of looks like a medieval torture device. And the biggest problem, that's right, and one of the biggest problems with this is, number one, is it doesn't facilitate learning. So if I try to turn backwards with Indy, this could actually dig into her neck and hurt her. So I can't really move her around with this tool because it could dig into her neck. The other problem is it could create negative classical conditioning. So if every time Indy sees a dog and she pulls towards them and she gets prongs in her neck, that can actually create a negative association with other dogs. And in my opinion, it can lead to aggression. So these are very dangerous tools. We don't sell them at Jolly Tails, but they are sold at almost every other pet store in Halifax. So these are not a tool I would use. Again, if you're using a tool like this, it's because you want to teach your dog to walk on a loose leash. But the Freedom Harness is a really great tool. And if you teach your dog that they don't get to move forward when they're on a tight leash, they will eventually learn to walk. And if you want to use food as a bonus, it's going to make learning even faster.
So we want to go with the harness. And you can buy these harnesses and the tools to do this at Jolly Tails.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming in. Lots of tips. One quick question, though, that I had for you before we're out of time. But what about a dog? I have friends, they have dogs that are 5 years old, and they are still pulling on the leash. Can you still teach them when they're old?
It's so important to be consistent, and it's important that the whole family be consistent.
Okay.
You've just got to communicate to the dog that pulling on leash is not appropriate. And if you step forward when they are pulling you on a leash, you are communicating to that dog that that is an acceptable thing to do. So you've got to stop that. You reverse them if they're pulling, and you give food if they're beside you. And it will take a little bit of time, but they will learn. And if you need a tool because your dog is really strong, then pick one of those up, and it'll really help your training.
All right, Tristan, thank you so much. Great advice for coming in. If you want to go to Jolly Tails, we have all the information here. I'm going to go hang out with Indy for a minute.